Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the steamy, perfumed dusk of a Javanese village where hair washing isn't just hygiene, it's a protective ritual, a cultural performance, and a mild gamble with the supernatural. You're crouched beside a flickering oil lamp, smoke curling lazily upward as the scent of burnt ash blossoms rises to meet your nose. The ground is warm under your feet, the air heavy with cloves and something stranger, an undercurrent of damp stone and the sweetness of rice wine fermenting just out of sight. You dip your fingers into a shallow clay dish. The petals have already been burned to charcoal dust, still warm to the touch. You grind them gently between your palms, and the grit sinks beneath your nails. Your hair's already unbound. It fans around your shoulders like a net catching the heat. Someone nearby chuckles softly. It might be your aunt or your neighbour, or a ghost who remembers the living fondly. The line's blurred here. You smear the ash into your roots anyway. Not because it works, but because it always has. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is in your part of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your fingers work the ash in slowly, tracing old pathways down your scalp where cowlicks and childhood fears used to live. It's not abrasive, exactly, but it's not pleasant either. The tradition claims this ash blossoms from the communing tree. Burnt on a Monday night creates a barrier that spirits cannot pass. You don't entirely buy it, but you're also not willing to skip a step. Not after what happened to Rini's cousin when she left her hair unwashed and went whistling past the banyan tree. 2 days later she was found muttering in Sundanese about a man with no mouth and sandals made of teeth. You keep massaging. Some say the blossoms are only effective if picked by moonlight and burned with a drop of snake oil. Others say the real key is intent. You can almost hear the village's collective shrug on that one better safe than sorry. Right. Historians still argue whether the original ritual had anything to do with hair, or if it was just a repurposed cleansing rite co-opted by early animist priests trying to keep teenage girls from wandering off into the jungle at night. You lift a section of hair and examine the strands. They shimmer darkly under the lamplight, sticky with ash paste. Tomorrow they'll shine. Tonight they're a shield. Behind you, crickets begin tuning up for their endless nocturnal concert. Their rhythm is broken by the occasional shuffle of feet outside the other women arriving. You can already smell the competition patchouli, crushed turmeric root, and the vinegary tang of tamarind leaf conditioner. One of them knocks softly before pushing aside the bamboo curtain. No one speaks too loudly here, not because they're shy, but because volume is said to wake the silent one's spirits without bodies who dislike being reminded of their former lives. You hear the low scrape of a stool and the rustle of batik cloth as someone settles behind you. It's normal, communal, even. You feel her hands move through your hair, checking your work. She clucks her tongue softly, dissatisfied, and adds a little more ash from her own bowl. You don't argue. No one wants to be the one who skimps and draws attention from the village elders or the invisible audience believed to sit on rooftops, legs swinging, waiting for a chance to sneak in through the gaps in your skull. Sometimes the ritual feels less like cleaning and more like camouflage. The oil lamp sputters briefly, casting strange shadows on the woven walls. You glance at it. Just the wind, probably, or something with breath. You go back to the task at hand, drawing the ash down to your ends now, coating each lock like seasoning a protective curtain. The room smells like a forest just after it rains, sweet and burnt and earthy. You lean forward and spit gently into the fire basin. Another tradition, said to confuse demons who might be watching your mouth movements to learn your name. One of the more fringe beliefs, but no one skips it. You once saw a girl try to do the ritual without the spitting. Her dreams were haunted for 7 straight nights by the same black-eyed toddler holding a comb made of beetle wings. You rub your palms together, cleaning off the excess ash. The paste has settled now. Your scalp tingles in that strange way between warmth and warning. You shift slightly on your stool, watching the flame waver again. Someone else is arriving. The bath hut will be full soon, the air saturated with floral smoke and low murmurs. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine your hair glowing faintly in the spirit world, each strand a thread tied to the waking earth. If you had to guess, you'd say this practice began as a way to bring order to long nights and long hair, an excuse to gather, share gossip, and tell cautionary tales that may or may not have happened. But now, centuries later, you find yourself sitting in the same posture as your great-grandmother once did, under the same roof beams darkened by oil and time, letting ash blossoms whisper secrets into your roots. A tiny rustling from above makes you look up. The rafters creak softly. You smile. The old joke goes, if the ceiling doesn't groan, you've washed wrong. You've never heard anyone laugh after saying it. The bath hut creaks when you stand. Not a loud groan, but the kind that echoes back into itself, wood remembering other nights, other footsteps, other girls twisting their damp hair with fingers sticky from beetle chew. You duck beneath the lintel, still barefoot, still half wrapped in your patterned sarong. The ground outside is slick from earlier rain. Warm puddles nesting in the hollows between flagstones. You step carefully. No one wants to slip now, not when your hair is full of ash, and the spirits are especially drawn to open wounds. You head toward the back of the village, where the communal bath hut sits near the banana grove, veiled in steam. The moon hasn't fully risen yet, which is good. It's said that demons are far-sighted creatures and struggle most in the half-dark. Still, you move with a soft urgency, clutching your rinse bowl tight. Inside the hut, it's dim and warm, lit only by a trio of smoking oil dishes balanced on flat stones. Steam clings to the walls like lazy ghosts. You don't knock. You just slip in through the hanging palm fibre curtain and blink at the thick air, already spiced with ginger, citronella, and the faint metallic tang of mineral water bubbling in the corner basin. The other women are already here. 3 crouched by the water, one standing and pouring a rinse over another's hair, and 2 others humming gently in the corner. You know the tune. It's not for fun. The melody is repetitive, looping, designed to keep wandering minds and wandering spirits both anchored in place. Nobody knows where the song came from. It has no real lyrics, just a vowel hum that vibrates through your teeth if you join in. You hum, softly. Someone hands you a ladle. You nod your thanks, dip it into your bowl, and start drizzling the warm ash solution along your scalp. Careful to keep your eyes closed. You trust your fingers more than your sight in here. The liquid is gritty, trickling in slow trails down your neck and between your shoulder blades. You wince a little, it stings more than you expected. Probably the clove water. The woman beside you whispers, "Did you remember to tie the red thread on your ankle?" You didn't. She tuts and gently slips something soft and damp around your foot. a braid of dyed grass. Not as strong, she mutters, but better than nothing. You whisper your thanks. She shrugs. I've seen too many girls forget. The ones who leave with company never knew they weren't alone. Outside, a cicada screams once and falls silent. You pour another ladle. The hut's walls are woven from palm fronds and stories. Some say the bath was built after a child went missing in the mango fields, vanished into mist. Only her wooden comb left behind in a puddle. Others say it was just convenience. A cool place to rinse your hair away from the judging eyes of older brothers. Historians still argue whether these bath huts were ritual spaces or simple utilities, though the presence of prayer cloths and incense trays suggests a bit of both. Like so many things here, sacred and mundane blur at the edges. Someone starts humming louder now, a breathy tune that dips and climbs like smoke. You join in again, this time with your throat. The sound grounds you, keeps your focus from drifting into the firelight flickering off the water. The flames make shapes, faces, sometimes, or writhing worms of shadow that vanish if you look too hard. That's why most women stare at their hands when they wash. It's safer not to meet anything else's gaze. A ladle drops behind you. The splash is louder than it should be. You all stop humming for half a second. Then the chorus picks up again, louder, just in case. You rinse out the rest of the ash slowly. It's not just dirt you're washing away. That's the logic. Each stroke of water lifts not only sweat and soot, but misfortune, sadness, fragments of dreams that don't belong to you. Your grandmother once said that hair remembers too much. That's why you clean it this way, with fire-born blossoms and the smoke of clove leaves, so the bad memories slide off like dead skin. It's not scientific. But then again, neither is the feeling that something behind you is watching from the darkest corner of the hut. Something that doesn't blink. You pour again. Steam wraps around your face like a veil. Your fingers are wrinkled. Your scalp buzzes. And the sound of the water is louder now, echoing off the slats. Someone opens the slatted window near the ceiling to let out some of the heat, and a breeze rushes in, bringing with it the scent of torch flower and dung. Because this is still a village, and reality doesn't care about rituals. The woman beside you pulls her hair forward, checking it for knots. In the corner, one of the elders lights a bit of dried resin. It smells like burnt sugar and pepper. She waves it in slow circles above her own head, eyes closed, mouth moving. You wonder who she's praying to. Most people won't say the names aloud anymore. Not after the incident with the twins. Ah, yes, the twins. No one really knows what happened. But after that night, the humming got louder, the ash got thicker, and no one dared leave the bath hut with wet hair, not even the old ones. You dip one last time, watching the dark rinse spiral into the basin. It looks like ink bleeding into paper. Your scalp is clean, but more than that, it's light, hollow, almost, like the ash took something with it. You wring out your hair gently and begin combing it back with your fingers, careful not to tangle. Someone hands you a towel. You take it without turning round. It's better that way. Sometimes when you turn, the person who handed it to you isn't the one who's still standing there. The basin is quiet now, the water dark and still. You press your damp towel to your neck, letting the fabric catch the last trails of ash and oil before they slide down your spine. The hum continues in the background, lower now, almost intimate. But the real warding comes next. Ash alone is not enough. Not here. You reach for the small lidded pot beside your stool. It's made of clay, covered with soot, and warm from sitting too close to the coals. You open it slowly, careful not to drop the lid. Inside is a mixture the older women call Penolac malum a night repellent. Not for mosquitoes, though it does chase those off too. This is for something more persistent, something jealous. Something, as the midwife once put it, that smells grief like a wolf smells blood. You dip 2 fingers into the paste. It's grainy, thick with crushed sandalwood, burnt beetle, and a pinch of powdered lime. You rub it gently into your scalp again, not to clean but to mark, like a scent line only demons can smell, and which they hate. You imagine some ghost creature wrinkling its invisible nose in disgust and floating off toward less defended prey. The paste smells sharp and old. It stings slightly where your scalp is most tender. That's normal. It means it's working, allegedly. You close your eyes again and breathe through your mouth, trying not to sneeze as someone passes behind you, holding a steaming kettle of infused water clove, galangal, kaffir lime. She's about to start to rinse, muttering her family's specific rhyme under her breath. Everyone has their own version. Your line's one is shorter and, according to some, incomplete. Your mother forgot the last verse. The neighbourhood tailor once said with a knowing tilt of her head, "That's why your dreams bend sideways. You begin the chant anyway, under your breath, a soft, rhythmic cadence, not unlike a nursery rhyme. Some say these verses go back to the early Hindu kingdoms. Others argue they were invented by bathhouse attendants who needed something to distract children while combing out lice. Historians still argue whether these rhymes were sacred or just convenient. You reach for your comb wooden, hand-carved, with a single missing tooth you never bothers to fix. The first stroke through your wet hair is always the most satisfying. It glides through, catching on nothing. That's a good sign. Knots in the first pass mean tangled thoughts, or worse, someone else's intentions clinging to your strands. The second stroke, slower now. You glance at the walls, where lines of dried banana fibre hang like half-formed curtains. Smoke rises from the incense bowls, curling like lazy snakes. The hut sighs again in the windward swelling, settling, whispering. You feel something shift near your feet. Not a mouse, not a lizard, both are common. No, this is something heavier. You look down slowly, expecting maybe a fallen comb or ladle. There's nothing you can see. You keep combing. Third stroke, beside you. The woman with the red thread anklet chuckles to herself. "Don't look too closely," she says without making eye contact. "If it wants you to see, it'll show you." She pours another rinse over her shoulder. The water hisses when it hits the stones. No steam rises. You pretend not to notice. It's hard to say when these rituals became so layered, so tangled with taboos and faintly comic superstitions. Originally, Javanese hair care was a matter of pride. Long, thick, black hair was a sign of vitality, social standing, even fertility. But in time, the night rituals developed their own logic, a way to keep the unseen in their place, a method of maintenance not just of the body, but of the boundary between waking and dreaming. The boundary is thin tonight. You hear someone behind the hut cough just once, then a pause, then again, rhythmic, almost patterned. You count 3 seconds between each. On the fourth pause, it doesn't come. Instead, the bell outside the hut rings once, sharp, unexpected. Everyone inside freezes. The bell is for emergencies, births, deaths, or visits, not of the human kind. You wait. 1 breath. 2. No second ring. The elder near the incense looks up from her bowl. "Ignore it," she murmurs, though her fingers tighten around the rim. It might just be a test. You wonder if she means for you, or for them. You wonder who's being watched. Eventually, the humming resumes. You tuck the comb behind your ear, a signal to the others that you're finished. You start twisting your hair into a loose braid, fingers sticky with residue. Your scalp tingles again, but this time it's a different kind of sensation. Not cleansing, not stinging. Something like static, the kind you feel when someone's about to touch you but hasn't yet. You don't turn. Instead, you reach for the sandalwood again and dab a final streak behind each ear. This part isn't in the written instructions, but you've always done it. Ever since that dream where someone whispered your name from inside the well, you rise slowly, water dripping from your braid. The air feels heavier now, thicker. The paste is drying in your hair, leaving it stiff but safe. You wipe your hands on your towel and step away from the basin. You don't look in the corner. No one does. Someone else takes your place with a sigh, already dipping her fingers into the ash bowl. Her eyes are closed. Her lips move silently. As you move toward the doorway, the bamboo curtain lifts slightly, not by your hand. Wind, maybe. Or maybe something else wants to leave too. You step into the night air like it's a separate world, one where everything smells a little more alive, a little more suspicious. The sharpness of sandalwood still clings to your temples, but the wind carries other scents now. Charcoal fires, boiled cassava, wet leaves. Somewhere, someone is cooking dinner far too late. Somewhere else, something might just be watching you from the shadows between banana trees. But you're not defenseless. Not tonight. Not with your scalp still warm from the ash and your braid bound tight like a spell. The paste is set, leaving your hair with a texture like paper soaked in moonlight. And there's one more trick. One more barrier before bed, a thin layer of sandalwood bark paste, smeared under your earlobes and behind the knees. Your grandmother used to call it the final sneeze, because if a spirit gets that close and still isn't repelled, well, it deserves a good scare itself. You reach the edge of your courtyard, still barefoot, and kneel next to a flat stone where a shallow bowl rests. Inside, the sandalwood paste glows faintly in the moonlight, having steeped all afternoon in water from the first rain of the season. You scoop a bit out with your fingers. It smells clean, almost holy, like old wood and memory. You pat it gently behind each ear, not too much. Spirits, like cats, are more curious about the subtle. Some say the sandalwood works because of its sacred origin, cut only from trees older than 7 years, harvested on a Thursday morning by someone who hasn't cried that week. Others say it's just the smell. Ghosts, apparently, have delicate taste. Historians still argue whether this paste was part of early Hindu cleansing rites, or if it was absorbed into local tradition much later, during the Majapahit era. Doesn't really matter. Tonight, it's your armour. You move to your knees and smear a little behind each knee, wincing at the coolness. The paste sticks like chalk, but it works, or so the stories go. According to the midwife, sandalwood doesn't just repel demons, it confuses them. The scent masks your human presence, turning you temporarily invisible to anything not born from flesh. You wonder, briefly, How many people walk through the village every night, unseen? The fireflies are out now, small flickers of gold drifting lazily above the cassava fields. They pulse in tandem, like they're breathing together. Some folks believe fireflies are the souls of wandering ancestors, especially those who never got a proper burial. Others say they're messengers, tiny lanterns lit by the dead to check who's washing properly. You smile at the thought. Somewhere above you. Maybe your great-aunt is peering down and approving your technique, her arms folded, her ghostly eyebrows raised. You dip your fingers in the bowl again and smear one last line along your hairline. Just a thin border, like drawing a fence. Inside, your mother used to tell you, spirits can't cross lines without permission. You hum a little as you walk back toward the hut. Not the protective chant, but a lullaby. One from the markets, not the shrines. Something sweet and light that reminds you of summer festivals and roasted peanuts and the sound of distant gamelan. A tune no spirit would care about. That's the point. Blend in. There's an old belief one you heard from a toothless man selling ginger near the river, that sandalwood not only confuses spirits, but shames them. He claimed that any creature from the other side, upon smelling sandalwood, remembers the moment of its death, and that shame drives it away. Of course, that same man once tried to sell you demon-proof socks made of coconut husk, so you take it with a grain of salt. Still, you wear the paste. Still, you never wash it off until morning. The moon is higher now, casting long shadows over your walkway. The banana trees look like old women stooping in the dark, arms folded, judging. You walk faster. Your braid swings gently behind you, the weight of it familiar, comforting. In the Javanese courts, long hair was once a symbol of wisdom. Now it's a liability if left uncovered at night. Hair catches things, dreams, whispers, fingers. You duck beneath the cloth hanging at your doorway and step inside. The air is cooler, the floor dry. You reach up and tie the curtain shut behind you with a vine twist. You don't latch the wooden door latching draws attention. Better to leave it loose. If something wants in, let it think it already has. You sit beside your bed mat and light the smallest oil lamp, just one. Enough for shadow play, not full illumination. Too much light invites the curious, and you've had enough curiosity tonight. The sandalwood paste has dried, tightening your skin in small places. You lie back on your mat, feeling the texture of woven straw under your spine, the scent of ash still rising from your braid like a slow exhale. You run one hand over the top of your head, making sure no strands escape the braid. One did. A single hair curls upward, defiant. You tuck it back. No room for rebellion in a night like this. Somewhere outside, a gecko chirps. A single, short bark follows. A dog. You freeze. One bark is fine. Two, maybe. Three means something is passing. The dog barks twice more, then silence. You whisper your mother's old line, the one she always murmured after hearing dogs bark at night. I'm seen, but I do not see. I hear, but I do not speak. Pass by, pass by. You pull the blanket over your knees. It's warm, but not from the weather. It's a protective warmth, like someone invisible just lit a candle beneath your bed and said, "Not this one." The lamp flickers. You don't flinch. The blanket is light but weighted woven cotton, dyed with indigo and ash, smelling faintly of smoke and something older, like the inside of a hope chest sealed since your grandmother's wedding. You trace the pattern stitched into its edge, a looping motif that's supposed to represent rice stalks, but always looked like eyes to you, wide, unblinking, and a little too symmetrical. You pull it up to your chest and exhale through your nose. The sandalwood has stopped tingling now. Your braid rests like a thick rope across the pillow, still slightly damp, still holding heat. You close your eyes, then open them again, because tonight is Tuesday, and you remember, suddenly and sharply, what that means. You sit up just enough to reach for the small calendar charm hanging above your head. It's hand-painted, 1 square per day, with tiny images, flowers, knives, birds. Tonight's square shows a bat, not a good sign. In Java, Tuesdays are considered inconvenient, inauspicious. A day when the veil between worlds is slightly less secure, when doorways might forget they're not supposed to let things in, especially at night, especially when water is involved. You glance at your hair, clean, blessed, ash-washed. Good. You didn't wash on Tuesday. That's the rule. Never do it on the day that hums. But you're not alone in forgetting. The neighbour girl once did it by accident. Washed her hair late on a Tuesday and let it dry under the moon. The next morning her mirror cracked from the inside. No one asked why her braid was missing when she came to market. No one asked why she started wearing gloves in July. You shiver, but not from the air. In the villages, elders used to hang banana leaves by the door on Tuesdays, folded into shapes that looked like birds mid-flight. It wasn't art, it was warning and protection. The belief was that if you fooled the passing spirits into thinking your home had already been visited, already marked, they'd skip it. Like mailmen ignoring a house with a no-flyers sign. You wonder briefly if any old leaf shapes remain out front. You won't check. Instead, you reach under your pillow for the little cloth pouch tied with red string. Inside a sliver of volcanic stone, a tiny clove, and 1 dried blossom from last season's ash batch. Not officially a talisman, just insurance. You tuck it back and lie down again, this time facing the wall. It's warmer there, less exposure, and if anything decides to peer in, it'll only see the back of your head, not your face, not your eyes. The roof creaks once above you. Old wood, just the wind. Maybe. Your mind drifts, as it always does in these twilight moments, to the origin of all this. How did hair washing become a battleground between humans and the invisible? Was there a specific incident? Some ancient haunting that turned a routine hygiene task into a spiritual minefield? Historians still argue whether these beliefs were born from early animist practices, or if they were folded gently into daily life during waves of Hindu and Islamic influence. Customs merging like steam with night air, indistinguishable after a while. You like to imagine the first girl who smeared ash into her hair was just trying to hide the smell of smoke from her crush. But the story spiraled, as they often do, and soon someone said she saw shadows flee from her, that her dreams turned clear, that her dead sister finally left her mirror, and just like that, a ritual was born. Your fingers find the edge of your braid again. Still secure. That's good. Loose hair is dangerous at night, especially on Tuesdays. The idea is that it acts like a lure-long strands waving like flags in the dark, signalling to things that don't understand consent. You swallow. Better not to think too hard. Better to breathe deeply, match the rhythm of the ceiling fan, and focus on that faint tick of the bamboo chime outside. It swings only on still nights, or when something breathes too close. You shift again and glance at the window. Closed, latticed, safe. The night outside is too quiet now, like someone's holding their breath. No crickets, no frogs. Not even that annoying owl that usually won't shut up. Just silence. You murmur the rhyme again, the one your aunt taught you when you were small enough to still believe everything she said was gold. Hair to the left, thought to the right. Let no stranger pass tonight. Wind may knock, and dust may call, but I do not answer, not at all. She used to chant it while braiding your hair so tight your eyes would tear. Now you say it softly into the weave of your blanket, your breath fogging the edge. It's not just comfort, it's part of the process. Protection woven with memory. Somewhere in the village, you hear a dish fall, porcelain on stone. A cat yowls. Then nothing. You pull the blanket over your head. If you can't see the rafters, nothing can look back. The blanket muffles the world into cotton silence. Your breathing slows beneath it, rhythmic and warm. For a moment, you imagine the outside world has ceased to exist. Just you and the close scent of sandalwood and old thread. But memory, unlike sleep, is never easily convinced. Because you remember the rooster. Not yours, but the village one, the loud one, the one that crowed at the wrong time. Everyone knew him. He was smug, too proud, strutted like he'd inherited the entire island. Crowed long before sunrise, sometimes at midnight, sometimes right after a bath ritual when the air was supposed to stay still and undisturbed. They say the rooster saw something. What exactly? No one will say, but it was in the week of the new moon, and someone had left a mirror uncovered in the bath hut, a large one, brass-framed and too clean. Reflective surfaces are tricky in Javanese superstition. Mirrors are portals, sure, but also traps, or invitations, or proof. The rooster crowed 3 times that night, a shriek, really, and then silence. In the morning, his feathers were found strewn along the banyan path. Just feathers, no blood, no body, just a trail, perfectly spaced, leading nowhere. You exhale slowly beneath your blanket. No one speaks of the mirror now. It's still there, they say, but turn to face the wall, cloth draped, forgotten but never removed. Even when the bath hut is repaired or rethatched, no one touches it. You've never dared glance at its corner. But sometimes, just sometimes, you feel that the air over there is colder. You shift on your mat, blanket slipping from your shoulder. The room feels bigger than it should, like the walls have taken a polite step back. You glance at the rafters, still there. Still just wood and dust and the occasional sleepy spider. You've never actually seen anything up there, but people talk. Whispers passed around over mortar bowls and spice racks. They say sometimes, if you bathe too late or laugh too loudly in the steam, a watcher in the rafters will blink, just once, not aggressively, not even with malice, just observation, a quiet, patient gaze. Most say that if it blinks, you're safe. That means it's content to stay hidden. It's the nights when nothing moves that people worry about, when the rafters are still and even the shadows seem to be holding their breath. That's when it's waiting. You sit up slowly, just enough to peer across the room. The oil lamp is still burning low, casting that lazy flicker across the walls. Shadows move like syrup, safe enough. You reach for the small bowl of night balm near your mat. Another tradition, a bit of ginger, lemongrass, and a crushed petal from the communing tree, the same that gave the ash earlier. You rub it lightly along your temples. The smell is calming, sharp, slightly bitter. As you lean back down, you notice your hands are still a little dark from the ash paste. Faint streaks between your fingers under the nails. Some people scrub until it's gone. Others say you should leave it. Let it flake off naturally. Otherwise, you disrupt the spell. You opt to leave it. You curl back beneath your blanket, this time on your side, your braid tucked under your cheek like a rope to another world. The breeze outside returns, gentle now, carrying the scent of wet grass and wood smoke. Somewhere far off, you think you hear the rhythmic pluck of a two-stringed rebab, probably from the night guards, who sit awake until sunrise, sipping bitter coffee and telling stories no one should tell before dawn. You envy them, a little. They don't bathe at night. Too dangerous, they say. Water calls things, and you never know what might answer. The hut settles again, groaning slightly. It always groans around this hour. You pull the blanket tighter, tracing the stitched rice stalk eyes with your thumb. One of them has a loose thread, and you follow it absently, wondering if it was sewn by your mother or your grandmother or someone further back, someone whose name you've forgotten but whose hands now haunt your sleep in the gentlest way. You blink once, and there's a sound, soft, distinct, a wet plop, like something falling onto stone. You wait. Nothing follows. It could be a drop of water, condensation from the rafters. The bath hut is still humid, even hours later. The heat lingers, trapped in that woven roof, but part of you knows. Water doesn't sound like that. Still, you remain still, because motion invites, attention feeds. Everyone knows this. If something falls and you don't move, you've acknowledged nothing. You're simply dreaming. You're not a participant. You start humming under your breath again, the looped chant from earlier, the one that makes no sense but fits like a key. It settles your nerves. Barely. You wonder about the rooster again. What did he see in that mirror? Was it himself? But not quite. Was it the watcher in the rafters blinking too late? Or was it nothing? And that was the problem. You don't remember falling asleep, but suddenly you're awake again. The oil lamp has burned lower now, a stubby flame gasping in its ceramic bowl. The shadows on the wall twitch with each flicker, and you blink slowly, trying to determine if the breeze has shifted or if something else is stirring. You listen. No sound, no wind, no dog, no cicadas, just the gentle crackle of the lamp, and maybe breathing. You hold your own breath, just to be sure. No, it's not yours. It's too slow, too deep. You sit up, pushing the blanket off carefully. The air is colder now, heavy in a way that makes your skin feel aware of itself, the kind of cold that clings to the base of your neck, even when your legs are sweating. You glance toward the doorway, still closed, still tied with the vine twist. But the tie looks looser now, unwound half a turn. You try not to overthink it. Instead, you reach for the bundle beneath your bedroll, the little pouch of illegal soap, the kind the travelling peddler sold to you last year on market day, wrapped in banana leaves and promises. Sultan's forbidden recipe, he whispered with flair, so powerful. It made demons cry and nobles bathe. You laughed, then bought 3 bars. It smells like burnt honey and cold copper sharp and wrong, in a way that makes your sinuses buzz. You never used it. Not really. But tonight, well, you did just hear something exhale behind your door. You peel back the leaf wrapping. The bar is still intact, dark grey and heavy, flecks of gold glinting on the surface like tiny insect wings caught in tar. You crack a small corner off with your fingernail, and the scent sharpens instantly, a citrus tang beneath something bitter, almost sulphuric. You resist the urge to sneeze. You remember what the peddler said as he tucked the packet into your hand. Don't lather unless you want to be seen. Don't rinse unless you're sure no one's watching. You assumed it was theatre, marketing. But tonight, it doesn't feel like a joke. You tuck the broken piece into your sash and leave the rest hidden. The idea of sultans having secret bath rituals is one of those stories that floats around markets and oral traditions. Some historians call it nonsense. Others claim there's truth buried under layers of myth, that certain royal courts in Java did practice spiritual bathing with oils and infusions kept hidden from the common people. Why? Because cleanliness didn't just remove dirt, it removed memory, identity, names. You wonder, briefly, how much of yourself would come off with this soap? You stand and stretch, quietly, just in case the watcher is still near. The rafters creak once, but it sounds uninterested. You press the fragment of soap to your palm and step lightly across the floor, toward the basin. There's still a little water left in the bowl, cool now, reflective. You hesitate. It's not a full mirror, but it's close enough. And with Tuesdays lingering, you really shouldn't risk it. But something urges you to continue. You drop the shard of soap into the water. It sinks slowly, leaving behind a faint golden shimmer, like pollen or stars. The scent blossoms up immediately, spiced, sharp, almost metallic. You dip your fingers in, wetting your palms, then you press them to your forehead, your cheeks, your chin. Just light touches, just enough to mark. The scent clings like ghost breath, not unpleasant, just insistent. You whisper a thank you to no one in particular. Then you pour the remaining water outside, careful not to spill any on the doorway. You've heard too many stories of people stepping through puddles left behind by themselves, only to find they no longer recognize the village on the other side. Behind you, the oil lamp flutters again. You turn just in time to see it stabilize. No draft. You step back toward your mat, one eye on the rafters. Still quiet, still unblinking. You lie down again, letting the scent of that strange soap mix with the fading ash in your braid. Somewhere far away, a rooster cries, 1, 2, 3 times. You freeze. It's not dawn. It's hours too early. You whisper another line, this time from your great-grandfather's journals, one you barely understand. But that always made your elders go quiet. Soap that speaks, water that watches. Bathe the soul, not the skin. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe someone's rooster is confused again. Or maybe the Sultan's soap didn't just mark you, it announced you. You feel the sting behind your ears again. The sandalwood waking up, flaring warm, almost protective. You reach for your braid and coil it tighter under your chin. A shield, a signal, a plea. The rooster goes silent, and you wait, listening for footsteps that may never come, but might already be here. You lie there for a long time, unmoving, your braid tucked under your chin like a line drawn in the sand. This scent of the Sultan's soap still clings to your fingers, sharper now that the water has dried. It's as if it's activated something, heightened the senses, or peeled back a layer of normalcy you weren't meant to notice. The air is different now, not heavier, not colder, just aware. And then you hear it, the soft clink of ceramic from outside the bath hut, near the banana grove. You know the sound. It's the clay cup used to ladle blossom wine, left out to ferment under starlight. Someone's drinking, or pretending to. You sit up slowly, cautious not to let the blanket rustle. The oil lamp still burns, flickering less now, as though calming in response to your stillness. You press your hands into the mat for balance, then crawl to the small woven shutter that faces the grove. You open it a finger width. Fireflies. Dozens of them. They float in the dark like drifting embers, lazily weaving among the tall grass and hanging bananas. Their glow pulses with no pattern, no urgency, just presence, like they're waiting. And at the centre of it all, sitting cross-legged on the old stone bench, is a figure. Not quite human, not quite anything else. It's wrapped in cloth. Too many layers for this heat. And it holds the blossom wine cup gently in one pale hand. Its head is slightly bowed, as if smelling the steam, or listening to the silence it's made. It doesn't move, it doesn't blink, and you, of course, don't breathe. Not until a firefly lands on the figure's shoulder, pulses once, then drifts away. And still, it does not react. Your aunt once told you a story about a woman who washed her hair under a full moon and drank fermented blossom wine too close to midnight. She claimed it helped her see her dreams clearly, but afterward, she stopped speaking, stopped blinking. Her eyes just stared, as if she were still seeing them, those dreams, or whatever came out of them. You pull back from the shutter, heart hammering in your throat, and sit cross-legged on your mat. You press your palms together to still them. It doesn't help. The blossom wine is a tradition made from burnt flower petals soaked in spring water and sweetened with dried tamarind. It's meant to calm the nerves after ritual cleansing, though some say its real purpose is to open. You make you porous to the world of whispers and flickering edges. It's why the elders only let you sip half a cup. Any more, and you might start answering voices not meant for you. Still, you want it. Not because you're curious, but because your mouth is dry, and the taste of ash still coats your tongue. You reach beneath your mat and pull out the small bamboo flask your cousin gifted you after your first ritual. For the dreams, she said, or for forgetting them. The wine is warm, slightly fizzy. It smells like burnt sugar and old fruit. You drink. It tastes like dusk. It's not strong, but it's thick, like syrup folded into memory. The back of your throat tingles. Your tongue goes slightly numb, and then you remember the woman from last season. The one who washed her hair too thoroughly, scrubbed so deep, she claimed she erased her own name. The blossom wine gave her clarity, she said, clarity that shattered her. She wandered from hut to hut for weeks, asking strangers, "Do I belong to you?" until finally, she just walked into the forest and didn't come back. Her braid was later found wrapped around a termite mound, still fragrant. You take another sip anyway, and now, your head feels lighter. The fireflies outside the window seem brighter. The shadows in the room soften, become less threatening, almost playful. You lie back down. The mat beneath you seems deeper than before, like you're not resting on it but in it. The air settles, the room exhales, and your dreams begin to creep in, slowly at first, curling around the corners of your mind like smoke beneath a door, then bolder, more insistent. You see shapes braids uncoiling, eyes stitched into fabric, a pale hand offering you a bowl of water that reflects not your face but your hair, moving on its own. You try to wake up, but your body is heavy, comfortable, too heavy to argue. In the dream, the blossom wine glows blue. In the dream, someone is brushing your hair with a comb made of fishbone, whispering a lullaby that matches the one the old midwife hummed when she buried her husband's braid in the garden. You start to hum along. The figure in the dream stops combing and smiles. You wake with the taste of smoke still on your tongue. Not firewood smoke, but blossom smoke, the kind that leaves a powdery sweetness in the back of your throat and makes your teeth feel slightly too large in your mouth. It lingers like a memory that wasn't yours to begin with. Your eyes open slowly. It's still night. The oil lamp is nearly out now, its flame reduced to a pale blue dot that flutters with each breath you take. For a moment, you think you hear that brushing sound again, the one from your dream, but when you tilt your head, it's only the whisper of leaves against the hut's roof. Your braid feels heavier. You lift it gently, expecting to find it damp, but it's bone dry, almost warm, and tucked into one of its loops right at the crown is a tiny wooden pin. You didn't put it there. Your breath catches. It's carved delicately, shaped like a lizard curled in sleep. Its eyes are closed, its tail looped into a spiral. You recognize the design. Your grandmother wore one just like it on nights when she refused to explain why the bathwater smelled of sulphur and the moon looked too close. She said it was for protection. She said it was also a warning. 1 pin means shield, 2 means do not follow, 3 means someone's already followed you. You reach up and check the rest of your braid. 1 pin, just 1. You exhale slowly. Still, who put it there? You certainly didn't. And there's no one else in the room. You sit up, braid coiled in your hands now like a tether, and study the lizard's tiny features. It's detailed enough to have been carved by candlelight. The scales shallow but precise. Someone cared about this. You whisper a thank you to the ceiling beams, just in case. Outside, the wind returns. It moves through the banana leaves like a hand dragging fingernails across paper. Not rough, just present. You think again of the fireflies, of the blossom wine, of the pale figure in the grove who didn't blink. You wonder if it's the one who gave you the pin, or if it was just watching. Hairpins, in older parts of Java, were more than decorative. They were language, carved in shapes that said what your lips couldn't. A sleeping lizard meant secrecy, protection, or sometimes a request to be left alone. A pin shaped like a coiled snake warned of betrayal. A bird in flight that was escape, freedom, or abandonment, depending on which way the beak pointed. Historians still argue whether these symbols were originally spiritual or simply social cues, hidden messages exchanged in plain sight. But out here, in your small village at the edge of the forest, the meanings are never just metaphor. If a lizard is tucked into your braid, someone is trying to speak to something else on your behalf. You smooth the pin gently, pressing it tighter against the woven hair. Your scalp tingles where it rests, not unpleasantly, like someone tapping softly, reminding you not to forget, and you won't. You lie back down, but sleep doesn't come this time. You're too alert. The blossom wine seems to have sharpened everything, the sound of tree frogs outside, the faint buzz of a beetle in the ceiling that refuses to die, even the rhythm of your own heartbeat, which now ticks like a metronome set to cautious curiosity. You roll onto your side and stare at the wall. The weave in the bamboo is tighter than you remembered, almost seamless. You touch your braid again, still there, still pinned. You think about the stories whispers passed through generations about hairpins used as messages to spirits. How some girls would tuck 2 into their braid before travelling, and return with one gone and no memory of the journey. How others place them under their pillows, hoping for dreams of guidance and waking up with no braid at all. Your stomach knots. You didn't ask for a message. You didn't ask for anything. You just washed your hair. But you did drink the wine, and you did hum the rhyme. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was the invitation. You shift again and glance toward the far wall, the mirror, the one always turned to face the wall. It's still there. You don't dare uncover it. But you do wonder what it would show now. Your reflection, or something that looks like you. Braid pinned with a sleeping lizard, smiling too wide, humming too softly. You roll back onto your back and stare at the ceiling. There's a light tapping sound now, soft, like fingers drumming, but it's not from inside. It's from the roof, the rafters. You close your eyes and whisper the rhyme again, this time adding the old woman's forgotten fourth line hair to the left, thought to the right, let no stranger pass tonight. Wind may knock, and dust may call. I do not answer, not at all, and if it listens where I lie, let its hunger pass me by. The tapping stops. The oil lamp gutters once, then steadies, and the wooden pin stays where it is. The moon shifts behind the clouds outside. Dim light dances across the wall in slow waves, like breath. You remain on your mat, hands folded over your chest, braid resting above your heart, the lizard pin still secure in its place. You haven't moved in what feels like an hour, though time bends strangely after the chant, or maybe the blossom wine bent it for you. Either way, you feel stretched like your thoughts are 2 steps ahead of your body, waiting for you to catch up. You hear a soft shuffle at the doorway. It's not a knock, just the hush of something brushing the outer cloth, not trying to come in, just checking. Your heart thumps once, then goes quiet. You don't speak. You don't rise. You simply listen. Then, a voice. It's not loud, not sharp, just a whisper curled around the edges of the wind like a ribbon caught on a tree branch. It says nothing in words, just syllables, soft and sifting, like breath caught in a wooden flute. You've heard it before, but only in dreams, the kind that leave your pillow damp and your mouth tasting of copper. You murmur a reply, not words, just vibration. A soft that feels like the hum you used in the bath hut, the one meant to keep shadows from forming faces. It seems to be enough. The whisper fades, trailing off into the leaves. You breathe again, and then the mat creaks beside you. No one there, not physically, but your weight shifts like someone has just sat down. You don't look. That's the rule. Looking breaks the veil. Looking is consent, so you keep your eyes closed. Instead, you focus on something safe, something grounded. You remember the midwife's voice, croaky and dry, telling you that clean hair under a new moon could reveal secrets. But it had to be clean before the moon appeared. Otherwise, it revealed too much. You twist slowly onto your side and face the wall. You recall her words precisely. There's no veil under new light, only reflection. You don't remember whether the moon was full or new tonight. You didn't look up. Too late now. From the floorboards near your head, you hear the low clink of something ceramic being set down. You know that sound. The little clay cup again. But your cup is empty. You drank it earlier and poured the rest. So whatever is beside your mat, it brought the cup. And maybe the dream. You inhale slowly. Jasmine. Wet earth. And banana leaf. Yes, the scent is soft. Almost maternal. It reminds you of childhood, of sleeping in your aunt's lap during storms, her fingers combing through your hair, murmuring about how dreams sometimes sneak in through your scalp if you don't wear a pin. You understand now. The lizard wasn't just protection, it was invitation. It opened a door, a controlled door, but still a door. You reach up and touch it again. It's warmer than before, like it's storing breath. And now you think of the moonlight bath the village midwives speak of only in corners. Late at night when the fire is low and no children are around. A sacred cleansing done not with ash, but with dew gathered from white flowers, jasmine, tuberose, and the rare, pale moon orchid that only blooms for 3 nights each year. The ritual is said to wash the eye within the one hidden behind your forehead that sees too much in dreams. Most people aren't even aware they have it. But those who wash improperly, or who go to bed with open minds and heavy braids, sometimes see by accident. You swallow. Have you seen something? Or are you being seen? You glance down at your braid. It's lying still. But in the dim light, it looks more like rope now, like something pulled from a well, dark, damp, and full of secrets. You shift again, careful not to disturb the weight beside you. Whatever invisible thing shares your mat, its presence is still there, heavy and warm, not malicious, just present, you whisper, barely audible. Do you carry memory? No answer, just a single creak, like someone readjusting their knees. Then silence. You reach down for the small pouch of salt tied to the bottom of your mat. Everyone keeps one, even if they pretend not to believe. It's just enough to scatter, just enough to line the mat's edge, not to banish, just to remind. A polite boundary, like a do not disturb sign hung on the door of a hotel room, haunted by your great-aunt's regret. You untie the string and sprinkle a thin line. Soft grains hit the floor like dry rain. The weight on the mat shifts again, slowly, gradually, and then lifts. Not a departure, more like a retreat. You press your forehead to your mat and breathe in the scent of straw and sandalwood. Outside, the moon emerges from behind the clouds, casting a cool glow through the slats of your wall. You finally let your eyes close, and the dreams return not sharp, not bright, just vast. This time, you're in a garden you've never seen but somehow recognize. Blossoms bloom in silence. Your braid trails behind you, stretching for miles, and just ahead, under a tree shaped like a question mark, sits a midwife with her back to you, combing a lizard-shaped pin through her own hair, whistling the lullaby you'd long forgotten. You hum it too, and wait. The dream doesn't end. It simply thins. You feel it ebbing from around your body like warm mist pulling back from the riverbank at dawn. The garden fades, the blossoms dissolve, and the midwife's whistle tune dissolves into the soft clatter of bamboo wind chimes, stirring in a breeze that shouldn't be there. You open your eyes. You're still in your room, but it's not morning. Not yet. The oil lamp has gone cold. No flame, no smoke, just a curl of burnt wick sitting in hardened wax. You didn't blow it out. That much you're sure of. And yet, the air feels softer, gentler, as if someone had leaned in while you slept and pinched the flame close between 2 fingers. The wooden pin in your hair remains. It no longer feels warm, but it's still there, snug against your scalp like a watchful friend. You reach up and touch it once, gently, still a lizard, still sleeping. Outside, the wind changes. A new scent drifts in through the rafters, one that makes your mouth water, fermented rice and burnt sugar. You sit up slowly, careful not to jostle the salt line. It's still there, mostly intact. A few grains have shifted, scattered in a way that suggests movement, not malice. You brush the edge with your fingers, collecting a little mound, just in case you need it again. And then you hear it laughter, soft and familiar. A woman's laugh, lilting and brief, like the end of a joke only she understood. You rise, slowly, and cross the room. You lift the bamboo curtain, just a few inches, enough to peek. The grove is lit again, not by fireflies this time, but by soft lantern light, dim, golden, swaying as if tied to branches by unseen hands. In the centre stands a tall clay jar, sealed with banana leaf and twine. Around it, 3 women sit cross-legged, backs to you, their hair cascading down like waterfalls. Each braid is pinned, each pin is carved. 1 bird, 1 eye, 1 lizard. The one on the left turns her head slightly, as if she's heard something. Not you, just something. And you realise, in that moment, that none of them are speaking. The laughter didn't come from their mouths. It came from the jar, or what's inside it. You let the curtain fall. Back inside. The scent clings, sticky, sweet and ancient. Fermented blossoms, simmered under moonlight. You remember the old story, half whispered by the midwife's apprentice one morning after too little sleep, that the first blossom wine wasn't meant to be drunk. It was meant to trap voices, not evil ones, just the ones that refused to let go. She said each jar sealed beneath a village bath hut contained a memory too stubborn to forget, too dangerous to release. A child's last laugh, a promise broken before death, a name whispered into hair before it was cut, and if the jar cracked, well, then the voices got loose, and someone had to carry them again. You swallow. The wine you drank earlier still sits in your belly like a warm coin. A circle. A seed. You wonder how many jars it took to silence a village. Your own braid brushes your back now, heavier with each passing moment. You wonder if it's carrying something. You wonder if, when you rinse it next, the water will ripple the wrong way. You sit again, back against the wall. The room is quiet now, but your ears still ring faintly with that laughter. You hum to steady yourself. The melody is off. It feels older. You switch to another, one your grandmother sang while grinding herbs. A nonsense tune, really, but you remember how she'd always pause on the same note, like she was waiting for someone else to finish the verse. They never did, or maybe they couldn't. You glance toward the small comb tucked near your mat. It's carved bone. Not ivory, not plastic. Bone. No one knows whose. Some say goat, others say ancestor. Either way, it's only to be used on damp hair, never dry. You pick it up anyway. You bring it to your braid and begin combing gently, starting at the tip, working upward. Each pull is smooth, but your skin tingles as if someone is watching closely, judging your rhythm, approving perhaps. With each stroke, a memory rises. The first time your hair was braided by someone else. A ritual bath after a funeral. That one night when you tried to cut it short during a fever, and your aunt slapped the scissors out of your hand. Hair holds the line, she'd hissed. If you sever it without permission, it unravels everything. You finish combing. The lizard pin stays put. You lie back down and tuck the comb beneath your pillow, just in case. Outside, the lantern's dim. The women are gone, but the jar still waits. You close your eyes, and this time, the dream comes before you sleep. The dream begins not with a scene, but with a sound, the low, gurgling echo of steam rising from deep within the earth, not like a kettle, deeper, thicker, the sound of something ancient boiling below your feet, slow and patient, as if the land itself is simmering with secrets. You're standing at the edge of a crater. The sulphur stings your nose immediately. Even in the dream, the smell is thick rotten eggs, burnt stone, and something sweeter underneath. Jasmine, no. Something faker than jasmine, like the memory of a flower. You glance down. Your feet are bare, pressed into warm ash, not burning, just reminding. Each grain feels intentional. You shift your weight, and the ground exhales. A trail winds upward to the rim of the crater, lined with small offerings, crushed flowers, burnt rice, torn photos. You begin walking. Your braid swings heavily down your back, damp despite the heat, and the lizard pin yes, still there, tingles slightly, as if vibrating to some rhythm your heart hasn't yet caught up to. At the summit, you see the sulphur spring. It churns slowly, an angry pool the colour of green tea and regret. Thick steam rises in columns, spiralling like ghost spines into the cloudless dream sky. You feel drawn to it, not in the way water usually draws you, thirst or cleansing, but in that unsettling, magnetic way old mirrors do. The spring wants to show you something, or take something. You can't tell which. Someone stands beside you, a woman, barefoot. Her sarong clings to her legs like it's soaked, though there's no rain. Her braid is longer than yours, twisted into a coil and pinned with something you can't quite see. She doesn't look at you. She says, "This is where we burn the love we can't keep." Her voice is smoke. It curls into your ears and nestles behind your thoughts. You try to ask her what that means, but your mouth won't open. Instead, she points to the water, and then, slowly, deliberately, she begins unbraiding her hair. Each pull of her fingers seems to shake something loose, not just from the braid, but from the air around her. The ground trembles slightly. The steam thickens. You feel it pushing into your skin, like invisible hands testing your resolve. She pulls out a pin yours, no, similar. A lizard, but its eyes are open. She drops it into the spring. The hiss is loud. The water spits and snarls like an animal disturbed from sleep. The woman doesn't flinch. She turns to you now, and you see her face. It's yours, but older, and behind her eyes, something is watching. You stumble backward. Your feet slide on the ash. You fall but not down. You fall through. The crater vanishes, and you land, hard, on a stone floor. You're inside a room carved from rock walls damp, lit by hundreds of small clay bowls filled with flickering yellow flame. The ceiling is low, almost too low. You crouch without meaning to. Your hair drips onto your shoulders, except you're not wet. You look up. In front of you is a large bowl, familiar, clay, blackened by fire, sitting atop 3 stacked stones. Inside it, water. No, not water. A reflection. It shows you seated in your room, on your mat, sleeping, peaceful, but above you on the rafters, something crouches, limbs too long, face obscured, but the braid is unmistakable. Yours, your dream self stirs. The watcher reaches down. You reach out instinctively as if to stop it, and just as your fingers graze the bowl's surface, you wake up, covered in sweat. Your mouth is dry. Your braid clings to your neck, heavy and cool. You sit up quickly and glance around. Empty. Still. Quiet. The oil lamp is relit. You didn't do that. You glance up. The rafters are dark, but empty. You wipe your face with trembling fingers. The dream still clings to you, like oil that won't rinse off. You pull the braid forward. The lizard pin is gone. In its place, tucked neatly into one loop, is a scrap of cloth. You pull it free. It's folded tight, damp at the edges. You open it slowly, breath held. Inside is a tiny comb, bone, no larger than your thumb, and on its spine, carved in clean, clear lines. Let no one else finish the braid. You stare at the tiny bone comb resting in your palm. It's impossibly delicate, each tooth intact, each ridge along the handle carved with care. But it's the inscription that holds your gaze. Let no one else finish the braid. The message pulses with meaning, at once a warning, a reminder, and maybe a regret. The room feels colder now, not icy, just quiet in a different way, like the space around you is listening. You fold the comb back into the cloth, almost apologetically, and slide it under your mat. You'll decide what to do with it later, or maybe you won't. Some things are safer, left undecided, outside. The wind rises briefly enough to rattle the hanging wind chime made of shells and old coins. It's a noise you've heard 1,000 times, but now it rings differently, like it's missing a note, like one of the coins has been replaced by something that doesn't belong. You lie back down, braid beside you, heavy with its own silence. You don't rebraid it. Not yet. Not after the message. Instead, you begin untwisting it slowly, finger by finger. The strands fall loose like ribbons soaked in memory. You run your hands through them, half expecting to feel the lizard pin again. But there's nothing. Just ash and sandalwood and the faint stickiness of clove. You should be tired, but your eyes remain open, and as they adjust to the darkness again, you notice something on the wall, a symbol, drawn in water, barely visible in the low lamplight. It's not large, just a small mark shaped like a sideways teardrop, with a line crossing through it. You recognize it. It's used by the older women in the market, drawn on baskets of fruit to prevent emotional spoil. The belief is that some things rot faster if touched by unresolved grief. You've never seen it in your room before, and certainly not drawn in water. You reach up and touch it lightly. Your finger comes away damp, but the wall is dry. A memory surfaces, sudden and sharp. Your grandmother once told you that certain spirits can't speak, but they can leave marks, especially in the hours between sleep and waking, and especially if they're asking you not to carry something that isn't yours. You glance at your loose hair now, fanned across your mat like a map, a braid unfinished, a ritual paused, and suddenly you wonder how much of what you've carried in your hair was actually yours, how many forgotten hands have combed thoughts into you without asking. You sit up again. You need to rinse. It doesn't matter that it's not the right time, not the traditional hour, not the approved phase of the moon. You need to release whatever weight still lingers in your strands. You rise and slip out of your hut, feet silent on the stone path. The moon is behind a cloud, casting no judgment. The bath hut looms ahead, dark and silent, but open. Always open. You duck inside and find it empty. The ash bowls have been cleared, the incense burnt to black nubs. But the rinse bowl still rests on the stone, half full of cold water. You kneel beside it and lift a handful to your head. It's shockingly cold, jolting you fully into the moment. You pour it through your hair again and again, eyes closed, breath steady, until the heaviness begins to slide away, one drop at a time. You don't chant. You don't hum. You just listen to the water, and for a while it says nothing. Then a sound, a soft clatter. You open your eyes. The bone comb. It's sitting on the lip of the bowl now. You didn't bring it. You left it under your mat. You freeze. The air around you tightens. You reach out, slowly, and pick up the comb. It's dry, warm, as if it had been waiting. You hold it to your chest, unsure if it wants to be used or buried or burned. The warning still echoes. Let no one else finish the braid. But what if it's not a warning to you? What if it's a message from you? A loop in time, a reminder sent backwards. You lift the comb to your hair and pull it through. Once, twice. Your hair doesn't snag, doesn't tangle. It flows, and with each stroke, you feel something let go. Not a scream, not a sob, just a sigh, as if your hair had been holding its breath for years. The water grows still. You stand, and you leave the comb on the stone, not as an offering, but as a boundary. Let no one else finish the braid. That's yours. Yours alone. The path back to your hut feels shorter now, though the stones are slick with dew and the moon still hides its face behind gauzy clouds. The weight on your scalp is gone. Not light exactly, but no longer burdened. Your hair hangs loose, damp again, trailing down your back like a night river that remembers its course after years of drought. You step through the curtain quietly, careful not to disturb whatever rhythm your hut has settled into without you. The oil lamp has burned down completely now. The room is lit only by the faintest glow of moonlight through the slats in the wall. You inhale deeply. No sulphur, no blossom wine, no burnt sandalwood, just air, plain and quiet, unwatched. You sit on the edge of your mat and begin to pat your hair dry with the same cloth you've used since you were 12, the one with the faded floral edges and a small burn mark from the time you got too close to the incense tray. As you dry your strands, you think not of demons or dreams or whispers on the wind, but of silence. Honest silence. The kind you earn after rinsing away what never belonged to you. And then, the old wooden box catches your eye. It sits on the far shelf, where you store things you don't use but can't throw away. Dried petals from old rites, broken bracelets, your first hairpin carved in the shape of a rooster's foot. You rise and retrieve the box. Your hands move with certainty, as if guided by a thought that hasn't yet reached your brain. Inside, you find it exactly where you left it years ago. A thin coil of red thread, wrapped around a clove-scented scrap of cloth. Your grandmother's emergency braid charm. You had forgotten it entirely. You unwind the thread and press the cloth to your lips. It smells faintly of lemongrass and something older, dusty jasmine. Maybe. Folded inside the cloth is a tiny message, scrawled in faint ink. If they come when you are clean, they do not come to take. They come to remember. You sit very still, because suddenly everything makes a different kind of sense. The watchers in the rafters, the fireflies, the voice at the door, even the dream crater, maybe this ritual, the ash, the wine, the braid, isn't just protection. Maybe it's remembrance, not to ward spirits off, but to call them, not in fear, but in permission, not to bind, but to release. You look at the red thread. Your grandmother always said to wrap it around your wrist during the second braid, never the first. The first is for your thoughts. The second is for what the world forgets. You don't hesitate this time. You begin braiding again. Not the tight, tidy braid of a ritual defense, but a gentler one. Loose. Deliberate. Full of small pauses where your fingers hesitate just long enough to remember things: the smell of rain on a tin roof, the sound of your mother humming while scrubbing ginger root, the touch of the river against your shins as you collected driftwood that looked like birds. With each twist, something settles. You reach the end and tie it gently with the red thread. No pin, no comb, just the braid. Yours, finished by your own hands. A peace offering, a boundary, a reunion. You lie back on your mat, the braid cradled beside your neck. The wind outside has softened into a breeze. The shells on the wind chime tinkle once, politely, and then fall still. There's no weight in the rafters, no gaze behind your mirror, no presence in the corner, but somehow you're not alone. Not in the frightening sense, in the ancestral sense. As if someone sat beside you while you braided and nodded in quiet approval, as if the memories stitched into your scalp have finally been combed straight. You let your breath slow, your eyelids droop, and just before sleep folds you back into herself, you hear a final whisper, not from the door, not from the roof, but from your own chest. Now you may dream without borrowing. You sleep like you haven't in years. Not dreamless, but anchored. Like your dreams are no longer tugged by invisible hands, or stretched through borrowed doorways into someone else's unfinished memory. This time, they come gently, yours alone. Quiet stories whispered in colours, not words. You wake slowly, blinking against the faint grey-blue of pre-dawn. The air in your hut is cool, still moist with night. Your mat is soft beneath you, your body heavy in that pleasant way that follows true rest. You stretch arms wide, fingers brushing the woven walls, and for once, there's no distant creaking from the rafters, no invisible audience, just birds, the first ones, tentative chirps, then a chorus. You reach up and touch your braid, still there, still tied with a red thread, no pins, no new marks, no strange gifts placed beside your mat, just your own hair, slightly frizzy at the edges from dew, but wholly yours. You sit up and listen to the world waking outside, the soft thud of a mortar and pestle, the swish of water being poured into clay pots, the occasional cluck of a chicken who seems slightly too proud of herself, and in the distance, laughter, real, human laughter. From the courtyard beyond the grove, you rise and wrap your batik cloth around your shoulders. You tie your braid up loosely, no ritual needed now. Just practicality, just habit. You wash your face in the basin near the door and taste the ash blossoms still clinging faintly to your lips. Not bitter anymore, just familiar. When you step outside, the morning feels new, not cleaner, not brighter, but calmer, as if the night left willingly. You follow the path to the courtyard, your feet brushing fallen petals and wet grass. And there, seated around a pot of morning rice porridge, are the village women, 3 of them. 2 are braiding each other's hair, exchanging jokes and tea. The third is older. She looks up and smiles when she sees you, soft, knowing. You sit beside her, and she reaches into her pouch and pulls out a strip of dried banana leaf. She begins folding it with slow fingers. Crease, twist, fold. You watch. It becomes a bird, but not one in flight. This one is nesting. She places it in your hand. No one dreams alone, she says. We just forget to ask who was watching. You nod. You understand now. This ritual, the ash, the paste, the wine, the braid, it was never just about keeping the dark out. It was about welcoming back what was once lost, making space for the echoes, carrying them carefully, not in fear, but with reverence. You help the woman stir the porridge. It smells like ginger and coconut and wood smoke. You share a bowl with her, the spoon warm in your hand. As you eat, a girl runs past the courtyard, her hair swinging behind her in wild tangles. She's laughing, breathless, barefoot, and you smile. You don't rush to correct her. Her braid can wait. Not everything has to be bound. Not every memory needs to be tamed. Sometimes the strands need a fly first catch wind, get tangled in the trees, let the birds tug at them before they're ready to settle down again. You lean back, your bowl empty, and feel the warmth of the morning sun begin to gather in your bones. Your hair smells of sleep and smoke and blossoms clean. Not perfect, not magical, just clean. And in the centre of your chest, right where your breath slows again, you feel the echo of last night's final phrase. Now you may dream without borrowing. Later that day, under the slow heat of afternoon, you return to the bath hut not to wash, not to chant, not to sprinkle ash across your scalp, just to sit. The bamboo slats creak in the breeze. The incense trays are empty now, only smudges of yesterday's rituals lingering like the smell of an old prayer. No one else is there. The hut is yours for the moment. You sit on the same stool where the paste first warmed your scalp. You remember every part of it, how the ash clung to your fingers, how the water rippled in ways that didn't make sense, how the rafters blinked or maybe didn't. You're not scared now. You're thoughtful. You reach behind one of the rafters, feeling for something you'd always suspected might be there. And yes, your fingers brush it. A sliver of old banana leaf, dry as parchment, folded like a bird, an old one, fragile. The wings crinkle as you pull it down. No one's touched it in years. You unfold it slowly. There's something written inside. A name. One you haven't heard since you were a child. The name of a cousin who vanished during the rainy season, whose bathing cloth was found near the spring but whose braid was never recovered. You don't speak the name aloud, but you place it gently into your palm and whisper a breath over it. Just once. The hut creaks, as if exhaling. You set the leaf back where you found it and rise. The ash bowls are clean now, but you can still smell their contents if you close your eyes. The sandalwood, the burnt blossoms, the clove. You reach into your sash and pull out the last scrap of the red thread, wrapping it loosely around your wrist. Not as protection this time, as memory. There are other women in the village who have done this, who wear their threads not to bind, but to recall. You see them now. In flashes, the girl who always leaves a slice of banana beneath the basin, the auntie who braids with her eyes closed, the boy who refuses to speak after bathing for fear of letting someone else's dream slip through his teeth. This is not a superstition. It's a system, a network of soft rituals binding lives together, not in fear, but in care. You step out of the hut, and as you do, something overhead drops from the rafters. You don't flinch. It's not heavy. It's a feather, small, brown-grey, curved delicately like a crescent moon. It lands at your feet, and for a moment you consider leaving it there. But your hand reaches down, slow and instinctual, and picks it up. You know what this is. It's from that bird, the one no one can name properly, the one said to ferry wishes into the volcano's heart, the one who appears only when someone dreams correctly, not deeply, not wildly, but honestly. You tuck the feather behind your ear. A nearby hen clucks in annoyance, as if protesting the poetry of it all. You smile. Later that evening, when the sun sinks low and the shadows stretch across the floor like polite guests taking their seats, you sit outside your home with your comb in hand. The bone one, the one that used to live under your mat. You no longer fear it. You don't even need to use it, but you let it rest in your palm, just long enough to warm, just long enough for your hair to flutter lightly in the breeze, just long enough for the air around you to listen and find nothing it needs to correct, because your braid is done, and nothing unfinished lives in your roots anymore. That night, you don't light the oil lamp. You don't need to. The moon spills softly through the slats in the wall, painting your mat in pale stripes. You lie back in their glow, arms tucked beneath your head, listening to the gentle stirrings of your neighbours settling down. Somewhere to the west, a lullaby drifts from another hut, thin and delicate, more hum than song. A child's voice, half asleep, picks up the last line. You smile into the darkness. Your hair is loose again, not out of defiance, not out of ritual, just because it wants to be, damp from a rinse at dusk. It curls lazily across your shoulder. For the first time in what feels like ages, there is no pin, no thread, no dried clove beneath your pillow, only strands and scalp and breath. And yet you feel safer than ever, because something has shifted, not in the world, but in you. The fear has softened, not vanished, but softened into a shape you can carry without flinching. There was a time when loose hair meant invitation, when unbraided strands whispered the wrong things in the night. But now you understand it differently. It's not about control. It's about trust. Trust in your rituals. Trust in your voice. Trust in your boundaries. You close your eyes and listen to the house sigh, and then music. Faint, from far away. Not a song you recognize at first, but the tune stirs something familiar in your ribs. It's not gamelan, it's not lullaby, it's too slow for a festival, too melodic for prayer. It's a pipe, wooden, hollow, old. You sit up slowly, because now you remember the Dutch, or rather, the music they left behind. Not a proud memory, not a happy one, but it lingers. The older women sometimes hum their melodies without realizing, carried down through generations, like recipes no one remembers the origin of. You once heard someone call it peningalan, a word that means what's been left behind, though it can refer to both heirlooms and hauntings. You stand, barefoot, and move to the window. The night is dark, the grove is quiet, but the music persists, soft, measured, not intrusive. A melody that might have floated through this village 200 years ago, when the Dutch set up their small outpost and tried to turn every ritual into sanitation, every chant into superstition, every bath into a health inspection. Historians still argue whether the colonial bathhouses were inspired by Javanese traditions, or if they simply co-opted them with tiles and brass faucets. Either way, what remains is this: a melody, somehow still alive, weaving through the banana leaves like an old apology. You rest your chin on the window frame and hum along, just a few notes, then stop. And the music stops too. The silence that follows isn't uncomfortable, it's full, like someone on the other side of the trees is nodding, acknowledging the echo, accepting your reply. You exhale and return to your mat. You lie down once more, your hair puddling beneath your cheek like dark silk. No chant needed, no charm, only memory. Because what colonizers never understood, what they still don't, is that rituals aren't delicate. They don't shatter like porcelain. They absorb. They evolve. The ash blossom bath didn't vanish. It moved sideways. It learned the melody. It carried both the prayer and the pipe song and turned them into something new. You close your eyes and smile, because maybe the ghosts of history are tired too. And tonight, even the past seems ready to rest. You wake before the rooster crows. No startle, no sweat, just a gentle tug from sleep, as though your dreams stepped aside to let the morning through. Your eyes open to the colourless hour, when the world is neither dark nor light but held in suspension. The kind of silence that doesn't ask questions, the kind that listens. You lie still for a while, braidless, breath slow, and then you rise. Outside, the sky's the softest grey. The air tastes clean like rice steam and wet leaves. You step out quietly, past the wind chimes, now silent. Even the insects seem to be giving you space. You head to the bath hut. Again. You've never come this many times in so few days. But today, it's not to wash. It's not even to remember. It's to leave something. The path is still dewy, lined with broken petals and bird droppings. A chicken eyes you from beneath a wooden bench, unimpressed. When you reach the hut, the curtain is tied back. Inside, it smells like dried herbs and cool water. The ash bowls are empty again. The rinse pot is clean. A quietness rests in the corners, not haunted, just unused. You step inside and kneel beside the centre basin. You pull from your sash the small pouch. Inside it a banana. Tiny, soft-spotted, perfect. And a coin. Old. So old the face is nearly worn off. You don't know which sultan, or which occupier, or which hand last held it with intent, but you do know why you're leaving them, because under the basin beneath the stone, near the mossy groove where water always gathers, someone has always left something. You just never looked before. You slide your hand under. There's room, a shallow hollow, smooth from years of careful offerings. You place the banana first, angled slightly. Then the coin, edge tucked into the fruit's soft skin. It's not payment, it's gesture. You sit back on your heels, no chant, no fanfare, but you feel the hut shift around you, just slightly, like someone else has joined the room, not entering, just noticing. You bow your head in acknowledgement. It's a story no one tells outright, but everyone knows. Someone once failed to leave a token after rinsing. Her dreams dried up for 7 months. No colour, no sound. Just grey shapes walking through grey places. It wasn't until she returned and whispered an apology to the basin that colour returned. You're not taking any chances. Before you leave, you touch the wooden beam above the rinse pot. One knock, just once. A thank you. Back outside, the sky is starting to bloom. A smear of orange along the ridge. The birds are louder now. A rooster finally dares a crow. You walk slowly home. The world feels upright. You cook rice. You share breakfast with the old woman next door, who tells you about the time a goat refused to drink water for 3 days after sleeping beside the bath hut. You both laugh. Then she shows you her newest comb-carved bone, gifted by a cousin. You don't flinch. You admire it. She offers to braid your hair. You decline. Kindly. Because you remember the note. Let no one else finish the braid. And because it feels right now unbraided, open, just a little unruly, by noon, you nap beneath the papaya tree. Your dreams are shallow, light, but peaceful, just water and laughter, and a long braid floating down a river, carried by a bird with feathers made of thread. No watchers, no pins, just flow. Evening comes slowly, the sky steeped in honey and smoke. You sit by the doorway of your hut, fingers stained with turmeric from peeling roots for tomorrow's market stew. The birds are louder at dusk, chattering, settling, scolding each other in their last flights of the day. But your ears are tuned to something else, the breeze. It moves differently now, no longer tense, no longer carrying the whispers of rafters and ash. It feels familiar, like someone breathing steadily beside you, not speaking, just being. You let your hair fall loose again, still damp from your earlier rinse. You haven't braided it in 2 nights, and yet nothing strange has come. No dreams that don't belong to you, no visitors with bone combs, no gifts tucked into the folds of your mat, just your own thoughts, your own scalp, your own silence. And now, in that silence, you feel something tugging, not fear, not curiosity, memory. You rise, dust off your sarong, and walk the old path again. Not to the bath hut this time, to the edge of the garden where the earth stays soft and shadowed, where the trees hang low like bowed heads, where you buried your grandmother's comb. You did it when you were small. She'd given it to you in a woven pouch and said, "Not yet." And you, being impatient and unsure what to do with that kind of inheritance, placed it beneath the soil near the turmeric plants and forgot. But nothing stays forgotten here. Not really. You kneel now and press your fingers to the dirt. The earth welcomes you, cool and loose. You dig gently, parting roots and memory until your hand touches the pouch still intact. The weave darkened with time. You lift it out. The comb inside is simple, wood, not bone, carved by hand, uneven teeth, smoothed by use. The initials on the back are faded, but you know them. You run your thumb across the surface. It doesn't hum, it doesn't glow, it just fits in your hand. You sit in the dirt, hair tumbling around your shoulders, and begin to comb. And as you do, the wind picks up, not with urgency, but with rhythm, like breath, like music. The papaya tree behind you sways slightly. A petal drops into your lap. You don't know what from. Nothing nearby is blooming. You keep combing, and that's when you hear it. Footsteps. Slow, soft, familiar. You turn your head, and there she is. Your grandmother. Not a ghost, not a vision, just there. In her old checkered blouse, her arms folded, her mouth tilted in that way that always said, "I told you you'd understand eventually." She doesn't speak. She just gestures to the braid. You nod. You finish the last stroke. Then, without breaking eye contact, you begin to braid again. This time not for protection, not for ritual, just for her, for yourself, for every woman who's combed her hair in silence and let the strands carry what words couldn't. You loop the braid once, twice, tie it with the red thread still around your wrist, and smile. Your grandmother smiles back and fades, not vanishing, just leaving. You remain kneeling in the garden, the old comb still in your lap, the braid warm against your neck. From behind, someone steps lightly onto the path. You don't look, you don't need to, because when you bury grief properly, it grows into something else, not joy, not healing, but rest. You stand, brush off your knees, and carry the comb back inside. This time, you don't tuck it away under the mat. You place it on the shelf, beside the banana leaf bird, beside the pin. They belong together now, like verses of a song sung too quietly for years, finally laid out in the open. The sky turns navy, not the soft blue of afternoon, or the gold-flecked blush of sunset, but that deep velvet navy that signals night has arrived, and not quietly. The stars blink slowly to life, uncertain at first, then all at once, like a gathering of eyes long closed, now gently curious. You sit cross-legged on your mat again. No oil lamp tonight, just starlight, and your hair, freshly braided, drying against your back in the warm hush of evening. It's your final night in this rhythm. The final rinse has been poured, the final offering made. The pin rests on the shelf. The thread on your wrist has frayed just enough to know its purpose is nearly fulfilled. You stretch your arms over your head, exhale softly, and let yourself melt into the mat. Bones warm, breath easy. You don't worry about what's in the rafters tonight. You don't listen for whispers or footsteps or the clatter of dropped offerings. You don't wait for shadows. They've already come and gone. They left you with a comb, a memory, a garden rediscovered. You smile in the dark. A quiet breeze slips beneath the doorway, curling around your ankles like a sleepy cat. It smells faintly of cloves and something cooler fern leaves ash. Maybe just night itself, wrapped in all the scents it's gathered from other windows, other sleepers. You close your eyes and you dream again. But this time, it's not a dream you borrow. It's one you own. You see yourself, older. Your braid is silvered but still long. You're sitting beside a small child whose hands are clumsy, whose questions are many. You smile at them, press a bit of ash blossom paste into their palm, and say only, "Start here," and they do. You dream of nights quieter than this one, and mornings full of combs with names carved carefully into their spines, of wind chimes that ring only when remembered, of water that never needs warming, and laughter from deep inside the house, the kind you never forget, even when everything else fades. The stars shift, your breath slows, the hut settles around you like a second skin, a shell of soft memories, worn rituals, and the knowledge that you, your scalp, your song, your silence are clean. Clean enough to keep dreaming, clean enough to rest, clean enough to carry nothing but sleep. So now, your braid is still. The ash has cooled. The comb rests in its place, not waiting for ghosts, not guarding against spirits, just being there, like old stories folded into cloth. The wind outside quiets. Even the trees seem to hold their breath. Your body softens. Each limb grows heavier, as if the ground itself is holding you gently in place. Not pulling, not pushing, just keeping you, just cradling. You hear the last bird give up its perch for the night. You feel the air brush your temple like a whisper that says that's enough for today, and truly, it is. No more offerings tonight, no more memories asking to be carried, no more watchers in the rafters, just the hush of a night that respects your sleep, the kind that comes slowly, draping over your shoulders like warm cloth, like a dream already beginning. And as your breath settles into its slow rhythm, you sense something, not a presence, not a sound, just a sense that the bath hut is quiet now, that the old water bowl is still, that the banana leaf bird on the shelf, the red thread, the coin all of it is just as it should be, undisturbed, complete. You are allowed to rest now. Nothing is watching. Nothing is waiting. Only sleep. Long, slow, honest sleep. Good night.